Welcome everybody to LuraTech's webinar on Mobile Office 4.0, Digitize on the Move. My name is Carsten Eiermann. I am CEO of Foxit Europe GmbH, Foxit Europe company. For those of you who heard me introducing myself as Managing Director of LuraTech all the time, LuraTech was renamed into Foxit Europe recently, and LuraTech still is a brand and a business unit of Foxit Europe. So it will continue unchanged, but Foxit Europe will be able to offer you much more on PDF than you are used to when you think of LuraTech. More on that in a press release and an e-news next week. But for those who are here as kind of a sneak preview, and for your information on what's going on. Today's webinar is supposed to be about 45 minutes long, and I, as always, encourage everybody who is listening to make it an interactive experience by using the questions window in the GoToWebinar control panel. That would allow you to put any questions in, and I try to see those questions and answer them on time. Or if I miss a question or left context already, then I'm going to answer the remaining question at the end of the presentation for sure. And if it's too much, I'll definitely follow up with every question, at least by email or in a later phone call. But let's start first. Again, you're encouraged to participate. And here we go. Mobile Office 4.0, Digitize on the Move. Well, before we dive into this digitization part that I mentioned before, I want to talk a little bit about mobile-based business processes and what the goals are for companies to move towards mobile-based, mobile-supported business processes. And as you can see from this survey that was done by IDC, there is a variety of reasons that bring IT decision makers as well as the other decision makers in companies to driving the move towards mobile offerings, both internal for your own employees, for your own business processes, as well as external to engage and keep and communicate with your customers. The internal side first. Why are companies and decision makers looking into offering mobile business processes? Everybody's workplace changes over the time. We are all on the move much more. We have flexible office environments, if not home office situations, at least some days a week or something like that. So employee flexibility and mobility is definitely a driving factor for companies to invest in mobile solutions, in mobile-based business processes. We're all fighting for the best talent every day, and those talents will only have higher demands on work flexibility and work mobility in the next couple of years. So that's one of the most rated driving factors. Other internal goals to go to mobile-based business process is faster decision times. Just given the fact that people are on the move all day long and being able to answer some requests with their smartphones real fast instead of waiting to get back to the office and sit down and do something leads to faster decision times, and that's probably also the reason for increased productivity, another key driving factor for companies to move towards mobile business processes. And hence collaboration is another key element. Location independent access to IT obviously is another relevant indicator. And as kind of a soft factor, coming out of all the hard factors before, is everybody's looking to have employee satisfaction. Again, we're all fighting for the best talent over the next couple of years, even more so. So that's definitely also a key in moving towards mobile business processes. Internal view. External goals that companies go after is obviously always to do with customer interaction, customer engagement. Companies investing in mobile business processes on the external side look for offering new products, new services to their customers, independent from what they have today, based on mobile transaction, mobile engagement, mobile business. And the next three key factors or key goals on why invest in mobile business processes is customer relations, customer service, and also to try and win new customers are factors that were mentioned in this Bitmark study that was done in Germany relatively recently. So you can see additional offerings, better customer relations are the external goals that companies go after when they think about offering mobile solutions, mobile access, mobile business processes. And come on. Truth be told, service quality is one of the driving factors. Increased service quality, why companies want to use mobile business processes. Customer satisfaction, customer service is definitely seen differently. This study, let's say, from Bain & Company is talking about closing the delivery gap, but especially looks at the customer service, and companies participating in that study themselves, 80% of them were saying we actually have a good customer or even a superior customer service. Interestingly enough, the same company's customers were also surveyed, and only 8% of those customers agreed that these companies had superior customer service. So there's a huge gap between what we think we do and how it is received. And that might be based on the situation that the expectations of our customers change, but our systems and our offerings and the interfaces into our companies have not yet changed. So this huge gap could potentially be closed by offering services in the way and on that level where customers expect us to offer services. And that is probably mobile more than we have today. Other level of customer expectations that might lead to this big gap in that survey is, what are today's reaction times, response times when you approach a company, a larger organization, or something like that? And what are the expectations? And I tried to get a couple of numbers out to see what in real time are the expectations of our customers. And one example that is not completely matching our case here, but giving at least an expectation level is when you browse the web and you go to a page and the next page loads in 0.3 seconds, that's supposed to be good and fast. When it loads in 1.5 seconds, which doesn't sound awful, it's already rated bad. Google will give you a hit in your PageRank if your page is as slow as 1.5 seconds per page loading. So you see, Google is doing that because of the customers are expecting that. So the customer expectation is everything has to be very fast, and especially when it comes to web, mobile, and so on, fast reaction times are expected. Okay, I totally agree. It's not completely comparable to response times in service requests or response times in applications toward a company or any other requests, but it's at least an indicator for everything has to be fast. A real good indicator, I think, is for what response times are expected from customers is when you take a look at Facebook. And I'm not talking about my private Facebook account. I'm talking about corporate pages on Facebook, company pages on Facebook. These company pages, especially in B2C companies, are very often not only used to communicate and engage with your customers, but they are also used for business process again. For example, putting in a service request. Somebody is complaining there that his new mobile phone broke and what to do next. And Facebook started a couple of years ago, no, not that long, a couple of months ago more, started to put the average reaction time of that specific company on the company page on Facebook. So when you look in the upper right corner of these pages, when you communicate with you write something like a message to a company on Facebook, to a company page on Facebook, it will show you the average reaction time of that company, which is an interesting indicator because Facebook also surveyed their users and gave companies a clear feedback on how fast they should react to a new message on Facebook. And so-called urban citizens, that's one of the clusters there, look for getting a response, a meaningful response, not an we'll call you back later, but a meaningful response like take your broken mobile phone here and there and you will be helped or something like that, in between 15 minutes. And I think those 15 minutes are perfectly applicable for the use cases we are talking about here today. We're talking about enhancing with Office 4.0, with digitization on the move. I'll get to that in a minute. But with Office 4.0, with enlarging the with enlarging the electronic business processes all the way towards the customer, those 15 minutes are very relevant for us as a guidance on how fast we have to be. And how is it today? When you take a look at the status, everybody has his own personal experience on how long it takes when you sometimes have a problem and approach a company or a larger organization. Let's take a look at that. There's a law in Germany for the federal government or state health insurance companies. That law says when somebody puts in a claim for a benefit or a reimbursement to that health insurance company, they have to respond to that in 3 weeks. And if there's a specific case coming in, it's allowed to be 5 weeks. And this is crazy because this is said to be an improvement. They put the law out there and said, wow, we're getting much better now. So in other words, before that, benefits claims took even longer. Again, compare that to our urban citizens, our Facebook SLA, let's say, service level agreement. 15 minutes is the expected response time by our customers. Another example I found on the internet, I looked around a little bit about how fast would companies react? What do they advertise? And I found a pretty famous German online bank there, bank. This is customer feedback on one of these forums there, and they said on that forums, the customer of the bank said, it took me 14 days, some of them reported 3 weeks, for a new account to open with that bank. So in other words, to enroll for a new account from start to finish, 3 weeks. And they say something like it's a pain, and they use a lot of more explicit language to describe how they feel about the service of this online bank. It's supposed to be one of those who actually are disruptive and do it good. But and they put in their advertisements, Google Ads, when you search for online account or something like that, you'll get a Google ad very prominent on the top first rank of that saying, open an account with us in 5 minutes. And then real world takes 2 weeks up to 3 weeks to actually do it. That's the situation today. Again, compare it to the expectation of the customers of 15 minutes. Another comment I found, which was pretty interesting, a very famous worldwide acting electronics manufacturer, they also had this corporate page out there, and you could put in service requests there, and answers were something like, a technician will call you during the next 2 days, which is not good. It's not perfectly bad, but it's not good. But it has to do with some appliances repair or something like that. So customers would probably expect that. But guess what? Nobody called back. Next step. no further response on additional inquiries. So in other words, customers on that forum were pretty angry, talking about turning cases over to their lawyers, and they got all upset with this manufacturer and put out recommendations the other way around, saying don't buy an appliance from this and this company. That's the situation today. Again, compare it to our urban citizens who want to have a meaningful response in 15 minutes. And now we go back one slide and take a look at the customer service gap. 80% of the companies think they render good service, superior service. 8% of their customers confirm that. So no wonder there's a big gap, because the expectations just grew. Nobody is expecting our old processes. Everybody needs to be attended very, very good, very closely in a very timely manner today. How do we get there? We'll talk about that. Office 4.0, an integrated electronics office from A to B, really helps for that. It allows for fast communication along the line across all the business processes, across all and everybody who is involved in a specific business process. In Office 4.0, we do see a several trend, at least, towards mobile first. Mobile first because especially Office 4.0 in B2C oriented customers, there's so many companies. There's so many customers out there in the market today who do not even own a classic computer, laptop, notebook, but only mobile phone, probably a tablet. So these guys are especially keen on, or especially feel it's quite natural, and everybody who can't is a dinosaur, to have those fast response times, which are not there yet, as we saw on the first page. Office 4.0, end-to-end digital communication, allows for uncomplicated buying experience. The tools are all there. We just have to put them in a row and overcome a couple of hurdles that I'll introduce in the later part of my presentation today. Uncomplicated buying experience means including those relatively complex transactions that are in need for additional, for example, paperwork, because paperwork is always slowing it down. It has to be sent somewhere, probably physical. That takes time, days and days in a row. So using applications, forms, offline kind of content versus expecting a quick turnaround time, there's a gap again that has to be overcome. I can give you an example, high cost transaction, and it's even worse when it takes long with low value transaction, because the attention span is even much shorter for that. But guess what it takes to lease a car from a more of the famous dealers or vendors, car manufacturers today. Experience, go to a classic dealership of a car brand. You have an offline business process that you follow. You have to visit the dealership at least twice to get everything done. You have, and that's true, 50 pages in paper that are the so-called paperwork that you need to enroll and sign with 5 white signatures in order to get your leasing contract under control, get it up and running, and get the application straight and everything else. That's a nightmare. It takes a whole lot of time. It's very uncomfortable. You have to go out of your normal way to visit the dealership and everything else. And it can be done different. The young and wild, those who come to the market newly as potentially companies that are digital natives, companies that start today or started a couple of years ago, they do it different. Same experience, lease one of these famous Tesla cars. It's a total different experience. It's all online. They claim it's easier than enrolling an Amazon account to lease a Tesla car. There's no paperwork, physical paperwork. Even all the additional documents like your driver's license and everything else can be scanned and uploaded to the page. And that's a whole different buying experience. It doesn't require you to go out of your normal way. You can do everything easily, seamlessly, electronically with fast reaction times and constant updates on what the process is and everything else. So this is a high-cost transaction. For a high-cost transaction, you might be ready to go out of your way and visit a dealership or something like that. For short attention span, low-value transaction, you just stop accepting processes like that. In other words, companies now finally have to react in order to close the service gap, as I introduced it on this one particular slide before. Immediate reaction is expected. Apply for something, upload the supporting documents, get the decision on your application on the next web or app page, preferred with a final decision and not something like a wait and see reaction. Unfortunately, there is a hurdle in that, a discontinuity in media in many cases. Many of our today's processes include the requirement for some kind of paperwork. When you think again on the B2C process, one customer out there applies for an insurance or go back to this car lease or for a bank account or something like that. This is not paper-free today, and it won't be paper-free in a little while. Still, customers expect to have our Facebook SLA, 15 minutes service level, 15 minutes to a meaningful answer. So how are we going to do that? How are we overcoming this potential roadblock? First, it is there. So you have, for example, an application. You get an application for whatever, a mobile phone contract, based on a flyer or a form that you send in a classic paper mailing to your potential customers, or that somebody took from a magazine, high gloss magazine, and all these kind of things. Those things are most cases filled in using a pencil and then what? Sent somewhere, faxed, scanned, emailed, whatever, or even put in paper as a postcard and sent back. There is a media discontinuity. I call it backwards because it starts with that paper, but in many cases it's very, very tough to engage people reading something on physical paper and then going to the specific website, finding the right form, even using barcodes or QR codes. It's very difficult to engage customers to start it digitally when you advertise in paper. Another use case where paper is obviously there is when you have to check signatures. In many cases, in many countries, it's okay to check a signature using a scanned copy against a scanned copy of some kind of authentication, but sometimes wet signature really is required, and you can't just put an image of your signature on there, which is okay in some countries, but in many cases it's not okay. And there is additional documents. I mentioned before, you probably have to send some kind of authentication or ID, for example, a passport, a driver's license, or if you enroll for a finance or a lease or something like the latest 3 utility bills or something like that. This is paper in a way, and this has to be processed, but again, we have the expectation of those 15 minutes turnaround time from our urban citizens. Paper mail, sending it in by mail, physical mail, those turnaround time obviously is out of the equation. It's just not possible to get a decision on the next web page or app page using those procedures any longer. So digitize it on the move. The customer is enrolling for an application using a smartphone. Now, can we handle the paperwork using that smartphone? First and foremost, we can use the smartphone for that task. Here's a little statistic. It's pretty old. It's 2014. That's in mobile internet. That's ages, but we all know it's only growing. It's only more. So let's use that. In 2014, already 54% of the German population was using internet via smartphone. That's quite a number. And 69% of all the internet users in Germany are using mobile data to get on the internet. So in other words, it's universally available. We can almost be sure Any of our customers out there can interact with us anytime if we offer our service on the right communication channel. The conclusion is the smartphones are universally available. It's a great device for customer communication. We have apps on there. We can control how we interact with the customer. And it's also an ideal device to get over the media discontinuity. For example, we have a form in there, and the customer fills in the form for an application in our app. The app the customer uses, fills in an application, and then gets a button in there for uploading the additional and supporting documents. Very easy to do for him because those smartphones have a built-in camera. So in other words, digital business processes and paper, could we digitize documents using smartphones? Just take the camera, point, shoot, done? Potentially not. We need to guarantee, again, our Facebook urban citizens response time that we have. We need to manage to process everything we do, every data that the customer fills into a form, as well as the supporting paper. We need to be able to process that fully digital. In other words, also for the paper parts. So when the customer manages to digitize it with point and shoot, great thing. Then we have a photo of it, but the photo in many, many cases doesn't have the quality that allows us to run these images through our automatic backend, server-side, cloud-based, company IT-based OCR systems, digital mailroom systems with classification, with automatic recognition, automatic data extraction, automatic processing of those requests. And it can be done automatically if, for example, we get a good quality scan of a passport or a photo ID or something like that. Those documents today have a so-called machine readable zone, an MRZ on them. And we do have the data that somebody typed in a form. So when we are able to OCR the machine readable zone on a passport, then our machine, our computers, without human interaction in our company can compare whether those data is matching or not, and then can, in case it matches, accept the ID, or in case it doesn't match, reject the ID or something like that. At least the software is able to process this request in the time it takes to display the result on the next page in our web or app. So in other words, we need to be able to have enough of a quality in the scans that are created on the smartphone. It's even critical to have good quality scans on our smartphones so that we can OCR and automatically process those images. Manual processing, like the image is not good enough, the mailroom says, ooh, not good enough, shoots it out and says, exception, can't read. That's never being able to be done under or below the 15 minutes Facebook service level that our customers expect from us, right? When we go to manual processing, it's piling up. It's taking people time to key. It's taking people time to read, time to classify, time to key in the results, and all of a sudden 15 minutes are long over. Probably we're talking days here instead of hours for processing it with workers, with employees in our company. So poor image quality is really actually hurting the process, hurting the response time, and it can't be fixed later on. So we are all used to the American thrillers that are zooming into a surveillance video like crazy, and all of a sudden you can view or read the license plate of a car that is a kilometer away. Sorry for the word, bullshit. This is just not working. This is just not how truth is. When an image has poor quality, poor resolution, when an image has unsharpness, when an image has zones that are just too dark or have no contrast, it can't be increased. It can be increased in like 1% or 2%. But other than that, it can't be increased. It's broken. It can't be fixed. We have to go to the source to manage that the images are good enough so that we can offer the quick turnaround time by automatic Office 4.0 based automatic processing of such requests using OCR and auto classification. So if you want to fulfill your users' requirements of a 15 minutes turnaround time as the urban citizens expected, probably go to the source. Offer your own app. Offer a service, a menu item in your existing app saying, apply online, apply electronically, upload your additional supporting documents here. Get a good quality, make sure at the source that the quality is good enough for your later processing system, and then you're able to automatically compare, for example, ID to application and approve in 15 minutes or less on the next page of your app what the customer wants. So this is a classic example of a photo taken from a document. It's not much to say about that other than this is 100% manual exception. This is 100% of those documents are not meeting the demand of the customers for turnaround time. So these have to be keyed by hand. These have to be recognized, classified by hand. In other words, not working that way. So in other words, your app has certain requirements to overcome the media discontinuity and being able to include paper in your digital processes in a way that they can be processed automatically. It has high demands on all the tricks in document imaging and digital imaging that were done in the last 20 years in scanner products and in imaging products and so on. It seems to be pretty complex because you also have app development to do. That's these new young guys who actually know perfectly how to work with Xamarin or Objective-C or something like that and create nice looking, perfect user interfaces on smartphones, but have never heard, that's not blaming someone, they have never heard of document imaging. So find an application developer who actually can do document imaging. That's a unicorn, a rare pink unicorn. You won't find this guy. So in other words, there have to be other solutions, because another problem is if you want to create real good images, and I'm talking by experience here, on all these smartphones and tablets out there, especially with a fragmented landscape of Android phones, for example, you have to go all the way and support individual devices individually. So in other words, you have to know and understand what is the flaw of the camera in this Samsung smartphone versus what's the problem with the flashlight on this Apple product, and so on and so forth. What's the problem with this other Samsung that inverts the colors or puts the images on top or turns them around or something like that? You have to know that. You have to work around that. And you have to do that almost every day because the life cycles of those devices is so short. So that's a big effort in maintenance. But the only way to overcome the hurdle of the media discontinuity, the only way to bring paper documents that you can't avoid into your digital and automatic processes is scanning them in at the source in high quality and still be able to react in 15 minutes. Here's a solution for that. You won't be surprised that I offer you a solution for all this complex doing of developing an app that actually helps you drilling down your effort to only a handful of days that are left. We at LuraTech offer a product that's called Framework SDK. Now, I don't want to get too technical. It's an SDK product. Yes, it's a software development kit, but it is a rapid app development kit. In the middle of the page, you'll see the app is done already. So it has very high level interfaces, for example, saying like, display the camera window here. And then everything that is in the camera window, like the automatic document detection, the auto cropping, the trapeze correction of a document that is photographed at an angle, and much more of these document imaging features like filtering, whether it's too light or too dark, and flashing or not flashing, all this kind of stuff is completely encapsulated don't worry, we did it. We have 20 years of experience in doing that. So we just put it all in the camera window, and all you need to do is have new menu item in your app, and your app developers can perfectly do that. And then put camera window here, and you have a high quality scanner in your app. So the app is done already, is the approach of this App Framework SDK. It includes all the document imaging, includes editing of the documents, document list in there. It allows for on-the-fly analysis, whether the image that we see in the camera window now is good enough for later OCR or not yet, and then guides the user to get closer or put more light on it or something like that. It's very efficient even for multi-page scanning. It includes compression. You know LuraTech for generating the smallest PDF out of scanned material. That's included here. And it has source code for your app developers to take a look at how to integrate it in a very fast and convenient way. We had one customer in the United States who actually took that SDK, went through a little bit of a test. It took them 3 days to actually test it and look at everything. And they purchased the SDK, and we were about to say, now let's develop the app together. We are going to support you. And they said, no, it's done already during the testing time. And that's true. That's the time it takes to get there. So in other words, don't be shy. If you want to get towards the 15-minute time frame for your response times in your electronic business processes that involve your customers out there, just use it. It's scanning, it's easy, it connects the documents in a way to your backend that they are quality-wise good enough to be automatically processed. And that's basically the idea. Business process who still have paper parts can be digital. Mobile devices invoke those business processes through scanning. In the cloud, everything can be processed automatically, fully automatically, OCR captured, whatever. It can even be done like database lookup and pulling something from a customer file, checking the credit online and everything else. And it can give then immediate feedback to the user on the next page in the app or on the web. When you connect it through web services to your own private cloud, for example, to your own IT infrastructure in your company, you can connect with web services very easy into an app that was built on the App Framework SDK. And that way, Office 4.0, seamless, start to finish, automatic digital processes. It's very close. Just go for it. Conclusion. Office 4.0. Internal view in companies, business process that are completely internally, mobile digitization still overcomes the paper hurdle. Even inside companies, there are several processes that are paper-based or at least include papers and can be digitized that way. Seamless and endless start to finish digitization. The devices are there. Either your company even issued those phones or tablets to your workers, to your employees, or everybody has his bring your own device kind of thing. So that's not a problem. An app can be developed very quick. I showed you how. It increases the productivity based on fast decision and high employee satisfaction because the way of working is modern. The talent that comes to our companies right now is young, is fresh, is digital native, and just has the expectation to work in an environment. No wonder they are all admiring those startup companies to actually just do it different because they come late to the game and are easily doing digital first, doing mobile first. But we can as well. There's, for example, no tedious receipt handling when it comes to expense reports can be overcome very quickly with full automatic processing when you go for an app with high scan quality like I introduced it before. External view, seamless Office 4.0, full digital processes start to finish, including paper, can be done and allow for those reaction times that customers expect. 15 minutes, so-called quote-unquote Facebook SLA is definitely in reach. The scan quality is critical. I told you how to generate scans in a way that they are creating images that can be processed fully automatically. And you can meet your customers' expectations right now and here. Getting to that point, you can win and keep your customers happy and not lose them to those disruptive new fintech and other new players in our businesses. Okay, that's basically what I wanted to tell you today. I thank everybody very much for the attention. And as said before, I asked for a couple of questions to put them in there. And you're still good if you have another question or remark to write them into the questions section of your GoToWebinar control panel. Some of you did, and I'm going to answer. Basically, I think it's 2 questions right now. First question. This is probably, if I summarize that, this is probably about the question about how can I test it? How can I verify what you just said regarding the App Framework SDK? Yeah, you can basically just test it. Shoot me an email. My new email address is there on the screen. You can see it right now. My mobile phone number is there if you want to text or WhatsApp me or whatever. I'm going to send you an email with a response, including a download link, and those tests are basically completely free. So give it a try. Just shoot me an email and I'll provide you with the necessary trial version. Then there's a second question. It is... Okay. Yeah, I see. So here's one. Oh, that's good information. Here's one customer who actually doesn't want to buy an SDK and develop an app. He actually wants to buy his own developed app, like turnkey. Okay, that's great. And do we have a recommendation for a partner doing that service? And yes, I have a very easy recommendation. Call me. LuraTech, in this case, you know us for product business like PDF compressor and all the other things. But with mobile offerings, as I introduced it today, we are also here to do the app development as a service. So instead of licensing an SDK and finding an app developer and then creating your own app, you can as well go back to us and ask for a turnkey, readily developed app. We're prepared to do that. And we did it. So just contact me as it is on the screen, and we can talk about the complete requirements list in kind of a discovery call, if you like, to find out what your needs are and how we can help you with a turnkey app. And there's another question saying, do you provide an OCR SDK with our offering? Okay, that's another good question. I didn't mention that. I haven't been too technical today, talking about too many interfaces or something like that. Yes and no. We have everything it needs to create searchable PDFs in our app. We do not include in the standard package an OCR license. So when you want to have OCR on the mobile device, which is making sense in some cases, we will work with you to get you a license from the known OCR vendors of your choice, so whatever it is. Our SDK has interfaces to read OCR in XML form from those engines, and we can create searchable, compressed, multi-page PDF files in an app using this extra license that you'd need from an OCR vendor. What I was talking about before is, though, you can potentially put those OCR on the server in the cloud. And with Rendition Server, just to mention a name, LuraTech as a product that is web service based, runs in a server environment, is very highly scalable, and also offers OCR as a web service. So that can be done as well. And an example from one of our customers on how that can be done: you can scan in the app, obviously. You can run the LuraTech 3-layer compression, as many of you call it, take the black and white layer out of that, send this very, very small amount of data to the server where the OCR runs through a web service by the internet, and then OCR it there and take the resulting XML file only, send that back to the app. And in the app, we then format the high compressed color searchable PDF. So that is a workflow that exposes the smallest amount of data anywhere possible, or sends the smallest amount of data possible through the internet for cloud or server-side OCR. Again, an interface is there. We can also use client or app-based licenses, but those licenses are not included. And the fidelity of a server-based OCR is much higher than the fidelity of a client or a mobile device OCR. So in many cases regarding business processes, we would suggest server-side OCR, but anything else is possible as well. Follow-up question, does the rendition server that I just mentioned also include an OCR license? Yes, it's included. The rendition server comes with a full-featured, full-blown, fully scaled OCR engine built in, firm and fix in the standard package. No extra price, no extra option. It's just in there. Okay. Before we get all too technical and get away from the subject a little bit, I think I close it here. And if you have any more further and specific questions, just let me know. Just drop me a line. Email again is on the screen, or call me. Mobile phone is on the screen there. I appreciate any feedback. I appreciate any call, any question, any inquiry. And again, as one of you asked, testing is easy. Send me an email. I'll follow up with a trial and download link. And with that, thanks a lot for your attention today. And I for sure hope to see you again in one of our next webinars. Have a great day.